Hi, my name is Dipendra and welcome to my Ambassador at Work profile. So when I was younger, I was always inspired by sci-fi movies and how the scientists in them would solve problems, often with the world on the brink of destruction, say due to an alien invasion, or an asteroid impact, or even a deadly virus. From around the age of 5, I knew that when I grew up, I wanted to either be a scientist working in one of those awesome research labs, or an astronaut on a space mission, or just somebody really involved in the cutting edge of science. Fortunately for me, I've had the opportunity to be both a scientist and an engineer in my 7-year career. In this short video, I'll answer a few questions to give you an idea of what I do when I'm at work and how I got to this stage. So the few questions that I will answer is 1. What do I do? I'll then move on to talk about how did I get there, and then I'll give you some advice on those of you who are interested in either my path or following something similar. So let's begin with the first question. What do I do? I guess it's best to start with my current job title. So that is Senior System Test and Integration Engineer. It's quite a mouthful, isn't it? Well, basically, this means that I'm an experienced engineer who tests new systems in a lab and really gets them to work. This includes everything from understanding how different circuit boards work together, how to use various equipment in the lab, and often how to write software on a computer so that we can run tests automatically and ultimately get the system working. At the moment, most of my work is focused on testing smart antenna systems, which can electronically steer the beam, compared to, say, a sky dish, which you have installed outside your house, and that's often static and in a fixed position. If you want to move that dish, which is also a type of antenna, you have to physically move it. So these new antenna systems are smart because they can be moved electronically using the software to control it. More on that later. So think of me like Tony Stark from Iron Man, where he develops his first suit of armour, except I don't have an arc reactor in my chest. Anyway, back to what I do. I work for a company called SatixFy, who are developing technology to support satellite communications. At its core, this technology involves a ground segment and a space segment, so that we can send and receive information to satellites in space. Now, this is used all the time for mobile internet connectivity, weather information, to name but a few examples. It's different to 5G, which is more short range and will be used for more terrestrial communication on Earth. Satellite communication is a vastly growing field, and more people want access to internet on the move. Each day for me is completely different, as I get to plan my own work, and my boss is normally happy as long as we achieve the goals that we have for that week or for that month. A typical week for me involves meeting with our various teams around the world, talking to future customers. So to give you an example, last week I was talking to ESA, who are the European Space Agency, about a project we have coming up with them. I also test in the lab. We have several labs which allow us to test our various products. I also write reports, and I'm constantly learning new things. You'd be surprised by how much you have to learn on the job in the STEM career. And for me, this is really the best part. You get to solve new problems each day and use that new learning to really help you. In my team, there are 7 people, and we all work together on different tasks. Everyone is really friendly, happy to teach me new things. And a big part of my job is understanding what people want from a product or a technology. This then helps me to design a test and produce the information that they want. For example, let's say somebody wants to communicate with a satellite in space. I need to know which satellite, then I can find out where to point my antenna so that I can communicate with it. I will also have to talk to the satellite provider to say that I want to run a test, and they will monitor the satellite as I then begin to run my test to make sure that I don't overload any of the onboard electronics. So how did I get here? In school, I studied GCSEs, including triple science, and I also chose business and media studies, as well as design technology options. I then took A-levels in maths, chemistry, physics, and English. I decided to go to Nottingham University to study physics, as this was my favourite subject at the time. I had a great time learning this course, meeting new people and learning lots of new skills. And after 3 years, I decided I really wanted to apply that science in the form of engineering in a job. So my first job was working for a large electronic company, manufacturing products which are used in over 90% of the world's radiotherapy machines. These products were very high power and were based on the technology that you actually use in microwave ovens to heat your food. So to give you an idea of the power involved, your typical microwave oven at home is around 800 watts, whereas I was working on devices which were about 3 million watts, so you can see the huge scale and difference in power. I stayed at this company for over 4 years, working as an engineer on different projects, but at the really early stages. And at this stage, we call the project research and development, or R&D. As it's not a product yet, you have to understand very early on what a solution to a particular problem might be. So examples of things I worked on included high power components for inspecting the cargo inside a vehicle or a container on a ship, designing a laser experiment to test a miniature atomic clock which would ultimately be used in space, working on image sensors that are used on satellites in space to take pictures of Earth, and also working with particle accelerators, similar to those that are at CERN in Switzerland. And in my current role, I'm working on the next generation of electronically steered smart antennas, which can send and receive radio waves to satellites in space, which are whizzing around the Earth, so that you can have internet connectivity on the move. Now, the final question, what advice would I give for those people who are interested in taking on a STEM career, or even something similar to myself? So the first thing I'd like to say is that a career in STEM is very rewarding. I love the constant learning I get to do each day, whether it be the type of glue to use to stick a piece of metal to wood, learning to write new software to automate a test, or even something simple like learning to speak part of a new language to communicate with a different customer. So first and foremost, the advice I would give is keep a log of everything that you do as you go through school and any part-time jobs that you may have. Include all your clubs and societies, and remember that all these skills are valuable when you come to applying for jobs or future studies, as it shows you a demonstration that you can work in a team, you have communication skills, you have leadership skills. To be honest, when I applied for my first job, I had very little engineering experience. And as long as you can show evidence that you are able to work with people through other activities, then you'll be fine. And ultimately, that's what it all comes down to. You're working with other people, as well as your technical knowledge. Life is a journey, and choosing a career path can be difficult. And there's so much information available for you today. The most important thing is that you choose something you really enjoy and are passionate about. Just remember, you'll spend a good third of your life working, so make sure you choose something you like. Oh, and one last thing. Take each failure as a learning point and use it to move yourself forward. Thank you for listening.